Hello and welcome back to Student Tutorials. In today's video, we're going to be showing you how to add tables and equations into your LaTeX reports. Firstly, before we start that, I'm going to go over some more basic commands that I didn't include in the first video that would be useful for your reports. So you'll remember from our introduction video that I use \textbf to create a bold font. So just to demonstrate that again, this is a bold text. I'm just going to put it on a new page for you and recompile. There we go. So if you want to do the same thing with italics and underline, you can use text IT for italics, and then you can use \underline for underlining something. Hit recompile here. You'll see that I now have some italics text and some underlined text. You can also stack these, so if you wanted to have bold and underlined text, you're going to go into the curly brackets and then use the text BF command within the curly brackets. And make sure your curly brackets match up, so you've got two on each side here. Recompile. And you'll now see that this underlined is bold and underlined. Another thing that's quite useful is adding bullet points to your report. So to do this, you're going to use \begin itemize. There we go. So each \item creates a new bullet point. So I'm just going to create two to show that for you. There we go. Recompile. And then if you want this to be a numbered bullet point list, you can do a similar thing, but instead you're going to use begin enumerate. Go. And again, \item just produces your bullet points here. That's you there, and you now have your numbered bullet point. So moving on to adding tables into your report. For this, we're going to use the \begin table commands. So much like with the adding images, if you type this up and select the suggested from overleaf, it's going to come up with these lines of code for you. If you don't care about having it centered and having a caption on your table, you can just type \begin tabular, and that will just give you these middle 4 lines, which is all you need to create a table. So we'll go through this line by line again. As you can see here, the curly brackets with the 2 C's is how many columns you have. So in our case, I want to add a third column in. So what I'm going to do is after this C here, I'm going to add a vertical bar and another C. So that's me now produce 3 columns for my table. In this next line, you're going to see that there's an and symbol and there's 2 backslashes. So the and separator is what separates the columns for the text. So I'm going to have to add another and separator because I'm making a third column. I'm just going to add some titles here. I'm going to put speed, distance and time. There we go. And the double backslash here, just like before, it just adds a new line. So this is what will create a new row in your table. Now, if you want your table to have black bars separating the rows, you can use \hline, and this will just create a black bar on your table. Again here, we're going to add some data into our second row for our table. So I'm just going to make up some numbers and use my and separator to show that this is a new column each time. Now note that it doesn't matter how much white space you have between your numbers and the and separator. You could have them just right next to each other in the code if you wanted to. I'm just putting some space so you can see quite clearly where I've separated it. And again, don't forget your double backslash after every single row. There we go, so that's enough to make your basic table. If we hit recompile here, this should produce as a table. There we go. You can now see we have a basic table here with the caption, because I forgot to change the caption line. There we go. I'm just going to go down here and change this to speed, distance, time table. Or speed, distance, time graph, actually. There we go. So there's a few things you can now do to make your graph more advanced. So we're going to use a package called array. So we just add that to your top here. So the first thing you can do with array is you can change the column widths manually. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace C with M. We're going to type a curly bracket, and I'm just going to make mine 2 centimeters. So I'm going to do that for all 3 of my columns. M curly bracket 2 centimeters, M curly bracket 2 centimeters. There we go. And if we hit recompile, we should see that the columns have now become the same width apart. There we are. Now suppose you want to have lines surrounding the table so that it's fully enclosed. To do this, for horizontal lines, you can add hline before and after your table, like I'm doing here. And then for the columns, what you're going to do is you're actually going to go back into these curly brackets and add vertical bars before and after your M's. So we hit recompile, we should now see that the table is fully enclosed. There we go. And the good thing about the column arrangement is you can actually add as many vertical bars as you want. So if we add another vertical bar to the before and after the M, you'll actually see that this creates a double line. And there we go. Now one final thing you can do, and again this is using the array package, is you can change the thickness of your lines. So if we type here backslash, then you can put set length, and you'll see that it recommends 2 curly brackets here. You can put backslash array, rule, width, and then you're going to add your desired width. So we're going to put 1 millimeter here. And you'll see that this has changed the thickness of the lines. So that's everything you need to make your most basic table. We're now going to move on to making equations. So with LaTeX, when making equations, you enter something called math mode. So there are 2 types of math mode we're going to use. There's inline and there's display. So inline means that this is for equations that are used mid-sentence, so they're not distinguished from the main body of text. You can write them within sentences. Whereas display mode is for equations that are used as figures. So this will create a new line for them and it'll give them a number. So for inline mode, we're going to use begin math and enter our equation. Or you can use backslash and then a round bracket, backslash round bracket. And make sure you type in between these. Recompile. And you'll now see that we've got our 2 equations, just on the left-hand side, not centred, not their own equation. And you can tell that you've entered math mode because the X and Y will now be set to the curly font you use in mathematics. I'm just going to show you here that you can add this equation within a sentence. And there you go. Now to enter display mode, we're going to use backslash begin equation rather than begin math. There you go. Or you can use backslash and then square bracket. So we should put x plus y in here, and then backslash square bracket. Now unlike in inline mode, with the display mode, using the brackets and using the begin equation actually produce 2 different results. So you'll see here that using begin equation has given me a number next to my equation, whereas using my square brackets has just put it in the middle. And again, with all 4 of these types, you can add a label if you want to reference your equation later on. So I'm just going to label this equation 1 for future reference. Now, there are lots of different commands for writing various different aspects of equations, so we'll link some documentation at the end of this video, but I'm just going to show you some of the basic ones that you'll need for now. So firstly, we're going to add superscripts and subscripts. So to add a superscript, we're going to put the up arrow and then 2, so this will now say x squared and y squared. And then to add a subscript, we're just going to use the underline. And this should say x1 and y2 here. There we go. Another important one to add is a fraction. So this has got its own command. You're going to see here I'm going to put backslash frac. And then it recommends 2 sets of curly brackets. So each set of curly brackets represents the numerator and denominator respectively. There we go. And you'll see that I've now got a fraction that says x over y. Finally, there are various Greek symbols that you can obviously input into your equations. We'll link documentation at the end to show you how to type each one. But for example here, I'm going to add backslash alpha. Recompile. And you'll see here that I've now got alpha plus y2. And again, make sure that you're using this within math mode, as you'll see here that if you try to use it without, it'll tell you to put it in math mode. So that's everything for this video. In the next video, we're going to be going over referencing. Thank you so much for watching.